What is up, guys, grills, and dank memers? The Squire here, and we're going to go over patch 5.9 notes, just what's going on this patch, what'll change both competitively and solo queue wise, and just what's going on with League right now. So, champion diversity is a big thing that everyone's been talking about recently. Well, all the time, really. And so people were complaining first about warrior enchantment in the jungle. Jungle is usually where champion diversity has the biggest issue. So before it was warrior enchantment was ruling the jungle. Now it's Cinderhulk, and so everything is just, they're just trying to do their best to balance everything. And personally, I enjoy this competitive season, especially has been the most diverse of any recently. Like 84% of champions have been played or something like that, which is awesome, you know. But some people are complaining, so they're just trying to balance everything out. Cinderhulk is a little too strong right now, so okay. So new attack move functionality. It just has to do with how attack move works. This is something you guys can test out if you want. Has to do with how it targets things. It's the target nearest the cursor if you target the ground. So instead of just like attacking the closest thing, so sometimes you'd hit minions if you're like aiming your mouse into a bush. As you move into that bush and you're using attack move, you'll hopefully hit the champion you're trying to hit instead of a minion that's behind you or something. Combat text, it's just basically bigger and more easily noticeable. So like you can see the damage you've done better and stuff like that. Like how much is your ability doing? It's really not that big of a deal, but it really helps clarify some stuff. Ashe is getting a rework. This is going to be interesting. So there's a lot going on with Ashe. The coolest thing about Ashe's rework is that she no longer, like, it's changing how crit works. So basically crit dominates a lot of the meta right now in 80 carries. Slowly, like, Bork, lifesteal and stuff are coming back, but it's not like the bloodthirster rush of days old. And lifesteal ruled everything. Nowadays it's usually crit, but she cannot crit, and instead her auto attacks do extra damage, but we'll get to that in a second. So her attack speed missile is a little faster, growth stat is lower, and crit damage multiplier is lower because she can't, when someone's afflicted by her passive, then her autos will automatically crit, and it just does a little extra damage instead of doubling the damage, which is a big deal. So spells and basic attacks slow targets. Every single auto attack and spell now slows. Instead of having your Q active, which drained mana, literally everyone slows. And if someone's afflicted by frost shot, I apologize, then she will automatically crit them, and so it just crits and does extra damage when they're slowed, so it rewards her for hitting people that she is trying to CC and slow and stuff like that. And the more crit chance you get, the more damage that extra damage is. So it's not like you're losing out a chance to do a lot of damage. It's just focusing more on her slowing and CCing targets. Now her Q is really cool. So she when she autos or hits something, she gains focus, and when it hits 5 times, it can be used before it hits 5 times, but when it hits 5 times, it consumes all the focus stacks. And if 5 are consumed, then basic attacks are replaced by a flurry of arrows that do extra damage. So it's like basically an empowered auto attack, and she gains a bunch of attack speed and increases her slow. So basically your goal and the way you win trades and fights, it's kind of like Windows of Power, like they were trying to do with Ryze's new passive. So you want to charge up 5 and then press Q, and the cooldown is long on it. It's 18 seconds, so she does have these times where her fighting isn't as good, but when she does hit this, she's super strong, she slows for a bunch, and she gets a ton of attack speed and does extra damage. So basically your goal is to, if you get caught by her when her Q is fully charged and she uses it, most of the time it's probably going to be better to just stand and fight her rather than run away. It depends obviously who you are. If you have an escape to get away, yeah, but the thing is her slows will be extra, so it's going to be really hard to run away from her. So if you have a lot of mobility, yeah, you can run away. W has some cool quality of life changes. It's basically the same thing. The missile width is a little bigger and it fires more arrows. Has a lower cooldown early on and lower mana cost. But enemies can block multiple arrows, but will only take damage from the first. So if you have a big beefy frontliner, she can't hit everyone with it, which is nice. Her E is now global instead of having a specific range to it, and charges up twice. This will be great for early game vision, late game vision, checking. It's like a scrying orb without even needing to buy a scrying orb, and it's basically making clairvoyance even more useless. But she does also not get her gold passive anymore, which is kind of fair. It didn't make sense from a thematic standpoint. And now, so slow in the enemy, her ult's the same, except the slow is just based on frost shots, slow percent, instead of just being 50%. Basically, what does this mean for Ashe? I think Ashe was already growing in popularity in solo queue, even though, well, maybe not popularity, but her win rate was rising, especially against tanks, because she can kite them extremely well. This, I think, will help her gameplay. The numbers may be needed to tweak, but I played it a little bit, and I liked it. And I feel like you do a lot of damage, but it's hard to say until it gets played more. I could see this being busted out in competitive as well, once people start getting used to it. When something new comes out, either people get on the hype train for it and think it's completely broken, or some person says that it sucks and no one ever plays it. Until maybe some buffs come through. You can think about Bard, like in competitive he wasn't played, but now he's getting buffs, he's slowly starting to get played more. It'll be something like that. Overall, I think this is a great rework for Ashe. It really is helping her issues, like with her crummy passive as of now, and is an interesting change, and I like the idea that they're trying to do different stuff with crit. Because some people are like, just get rid of crit, it's RNG, it's not fair, or whatever. But they're just trying to add new avenues and really change up AD carries. Like you have Calista, who's not your traditional AD carry. You have other, so you have like your traditional AD carries where they're based on crit, attack speed, attack damage, and then you have like Calista, who's based all around getting these Ren stacks. And now you have Ashe, who sort of goes off crit, but it's more consistent. Known, like you know you're gonna do damage instead of hoping for a crit, which is interesting. Akali, don't know how I feel about this. Akali's like one of those champs that just is a solo queue stomper. If she gets ahead, she's kind of hard to deal with. Yeah, she does have counterplay, so I do think she's balanced in a sense. I just don't personally like her. It's kind of like Katarina, like, yeah, they're balanced or whatever, but they're not fun to play against if they get fed. But, I mean, that's most people. This buffs will definitely help her out. I don't know about competitive play, maybe. It's just hard when you have a team that's working really well together to shut her down, that can communicate. But her E on a lower cooldown is nice. The AP ratio is a buff to her damage. And then, this is kind of cool. Her dash now goes like through and it puts you behind them basically. So like, it really helps you stick to someone. But I'm interested if like, people, so like you dash through someone and you're guaranteed to go through them. If they walk towards where you came from, like it'll put you farther away from them. So I don't know, it's an interesting change, and I think it'll raise her popularity in solo queue anytime someone gets a buff, especially like Akali. I think it'll help her. The damage increase isn't necessarily there, so we'll have to see exactly what happens with her. Annie's auto attack range is shorter, thank God, because she could just harass you, even though, I mean, she's not AD or anything, but it got a bit annoying sometimes. This will help her. She'll still be strong. She'll still be played competitively. Her power comes through her stun and her AoE ability to stun and her damage. And this doesn't touch either one of those. So maybe for mid lane, it'll help her out so she can't harass everyone as easily. She still has an incredibly high attack range, though, so she'll still be really good, I think, against maybe assassin or like melees and stuff like that. She'll still be strong because her damage and her CC are still intact. Interesting changes to basically lane Hecarim. Before you could spam your Q at 20 mana and it lasts longer. Now it's 12 higher, so you will definitely go faster. I think this doesn't remove his mobility, his engage with his ult, or even I guess his sustain with his W. and it doesn't actually change any of his damage. It just changes his mana cost early on, so it will make him weaker early, but I think he'll still be just as strong. I think he'll still be played competitively, especially top lane. The changes to his, instead of being reduced against monsters, is nice, so I think it'll help his jungle clears out, because he has a pretty high top lane win percentage, but his jungle win percentage is pretty low, just based on, like, he can't really abuse people like he does in top lane, and he doesn't, just as a jungler you don't get as much gold, where he does really benefit from getting a lot of gold, so I think it'll help. His clear times will be definitely faster, but he'll also go on mana sooner, but with blue buff it will help. So his jungle Hecarim buff, lane Hecarim nerf is the overall thing there. So now you just don't get more distance when you dash backwards. Definitely helpful. Calista can be really oppressive when played by someone who's really good at her. She's definitely skill oriented. You have to be good with her, but when she's really good, it's hard to deal with her because she can hop around so much without, if you don't have the right like CC. But I don't think this will nerf her to the point where she won't be seen competitively or in solo kill. She'll still be really good. None of her damage is touched. Her mobility is still there. It's just a little less when she's going straight backwards, but she can still dash side to side and chase down people with her jump just as well. So I think she's still strong, and this won't hurt her that bad. Damage per second, Tormented Soil, weaker early, good. I think this will, I don't know if this is necessarily targeted towards solo lane Morgana, or it's just lowering her damage a little bit, because Morgana's strong. She's not to the point where she's as bad as ever. Her snare's still stupid long, but her puddle could also do a lot of damage. It doesn't touch her damage late game though, so I don't know if it's necessarily that big of a nerf. She already took some sort of time to scale, but it'll hurt her early game wave clear for sure for solo lane. Just kind of a bug basically, where sometimes the health wouldn't come when he ulted. Like, you'd do the little animation and it wouldn't show up right away. Just a nice bug fix. Not going to change his play at all. He's still really good in solo queue if you can get ahead or just farm enough stacks. Nocturne, this is a nice buff to him. I really think with Hecarim being popular and his ult, you can speed towards people really fast. If you, especially in competitive, I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet. It's probably because more of the tank meta and Nocturne is just in a weird spot sometimes. But he can move fast towards people, which is really nice, mixed with Hecarim and then his ult. So I think it'll help. His E does a little more damage early and I guess late too. But I don't know if this is gonna make him see play yet, necessarily. Faker has been playing mid Nocturne and solo queue, and I've even played that before. It was one of my fun little troll picks to do. I really like it. I think it's really snowbally. It falls behind really easily though, so it depends. If by some miracle someone does play him in lane, I also saw Smite top with TP Nocturne. These buffs are definitely helping him out, and I just don't, it just depends on if someone busts it out in competitive. A lot of solo queue depend on it. As soon as someone does that, it'll go crazy, it'll go viral, there'll be videos on Reddit, YouTube, whatever, and everyone will start playing it. So it just depends on what people do. Huge buff to Olaf. I love this buff, makes him so fast. When you ult, instead of being able to be kited back, like say by someone earlier in this patch notes, he can now run towards them at super fast speeds, especially with Righteous Glory and a Yomu's, which is what a lot of people like to do. So it helps. It doesn't solve all his problems, like it says, because he does have some issues being kited, but it definitely does help him a lot. And I think this will, I know Rainover liked to play some Olaf jungle. There are some picks here and there. I think in solo queue and competitive he will see a little bit more play. This buff is awesome. And I definitely think he will see more play. I don't think he's broken. I don't think he will be broken, but I think he'll be strong. W on Renekton now has more range. I didn't know that. Self stun. Okay, so because you had to stand still when you used it, so the self stun is at least lowered when it's empowered, which is nice. So that means you could just stun people and it's faster. It'll help you trade better, which is good. It's interesting because Renekton already is really strong early game, but he is technically not as good right now because there's other champions that are even better, like Gnar can bully him even out of lane if played right. So that'll definitely help him, I think, with his trades and stuff. He definitely serves as this niche pick where he dominates a lane. Like if you really want to shut someone down top lane, he's really good. Or if you just want to make sure you win your lane. So I think he might see some more play. He is seeing some play here and there, especially with all the other tanks. I could see Smite TP work on him very well, so someone might bust that out. So we'll just have to see. And same bug fix as with Nasus. Riven Nurse, a lot of people are upset about this, but I feel like it's a fair thing. None of her damage is nerfed. Yes, her movement speed is nerfed by 5, but she still has incredible mobility with her Q and E, and CC with her W. And then her ult missile speed is just slower, so you have a better chance to flash, basically, which I really like. Like, you have a chance to dodge it and stuff better instead of it just flying at you, which is nice. It just adds a little more counterplay. I think Riven's fine. I think this is more balancing for solo queue. I think all them Riven mains out there and box fanboys will continue to play Riven, and she'll be popular. She'll still be strong. This isn't gonna nerf her into obsolescence. I think she's fine. On to Rise, just some clarity things, bug fixes, just with his with his rework, because he had some issues. He's definitely looking for buffs. His buffs are going to come in this PB cycle. I already saw some on his damage, because he's really weak right now. He has the lowest win rate in like every position, basically. But I think this is really good. This is just the start. It's like with Azir when he had all those bugs. This is just the start, and they'll eventually make him strong enough to be played. Extra damage on Tristana's E, which is awesome, and then so her cast time is reduced by attack speed, so it doesn't feel so clunky. That makes sense. I've played her a couple times, and I always felt like her E felt a little clunky sometimes, but so that's awesome. So as you get more attack speed and you use your Q, your E's easier to throw. These are great buffs. She's seeing some play here and there. I think Forgiven likes to play her occasionally. She's seen some competitive play, just not a whole lot. Because she does have this nice niche because she has her jump, and she kills towers super fast. That's what her best job is, and she has self-peel with her ult as well. So I think this will be nice. I don't know if it'll necessarily make her played all the time, but I definitely think it'll make her feel less clunky and have better damage. Trundle E slow. This is interesting. Trundle's really good right now, and people don't really realize that, I don't think, because he's really good against tanks. So this is awesome that they're buffing Trundle and helping him out, because his biggest issues are being kited, and the knockback distance is nice. You can knock someone towards you with your pillar and it slows them so you can catch up to him. But this just means this is perfect, because he's the perfect niche pick. He's not necessarily strong to first pick or whatever, but if you know that they have a tank on the other enemy team, like let's say a Scion and a Sejuani, great, right? That sounds like so much fun. But you can just bust them down with Trundle, steal all their resistances, do so much % HP damage, and just shit on them. So this is a nice little buff to him. Zinjao buffs, please. No. Just kidding. This is a nice buff to Zin. He has some issues, especially with falling off, and his team fights are here or there. But the stun added to the end will be nice. But it's not crazy. I mean, it's a stun, so it can be reduced by tenacity. I think it'll help him, but I don't think this will make him see a rise in solo queue play or competitive, especially not competitive. He's still good in solo queue. I think he's really good at stomping people. He does so much damage early on. I think he's good. interesting change on Zed now, because he's been so popular for a while. I think that even though he's starting to fall off a little bit, he still will always be good because he can just dive the carry, especially on a high tank team with all this tank meta. You usually have like one carry, and if Zed can get in there and kill the carry, then a lot of your damage is gone. So basically all it is when he ults, he has to wait a second before he can go back to the Deathmark Shadow. So it is a pretty big nerf, but if Zed plays it right and is using his abilities properly, he can use his W to mitigate some of that. So like, he jumps on someone, does damage, he can't go, but he needs to go back right away. He can usually W, depending on how you use your cooldowns and stuff, W away and wait, and then go back to your Deathmark again. So there's some playing around it, but it is definitely a nerf, and it makes it so he can't just jump on you, do the tiniest bit of damage, like an auto EQ, and then instantly jump back out away from all danger. So it's nice. Okay. Now on to the diversity stuff that they're talking about. So basically they just wanted to... Cinderhulk was meant to be tanky, and it ended up being tanky plus doing too much damage, so tanks could do almost as much damage as warrior champions, especially at certain points in the game. So now what's going to happen is it does more damage to monsters, because the Sunfire passive is really there to help with clear times, because tanks usually have pretty rough clears. Think, I guess, Shen Jungle or Rammus especially. They have rough clear times, but the Sunfire passive really helps them out. So now it does more damage to monsters but less to champions, which is fair. I think it'll allow people to figure out and have more balanced play. Like, it'll up diversity. Like, if you want to do more damage, you go warrior, but if you want to tank, you can still go Cinderhulk and still be strong. So I think this is a good change, and it won't stop the Cinderhulk meta, I don't think. Cinderhulk will still be played a lot because the scaling health is just really nice, and the extra damage it gives will always be good. But I think it'll allow more diversity. And then just because of the popularity of Skirmishers Saber, especially in top lane and stuff, they're just reducing the amount of damage and reduced damage that you can have from the smite. So you can do less damage in 4 seconds, and you can take less damage I guess afterwards. It's just a duration thing. It'll still be really strong, I think. Oh, and they fixed the true damage reduction, that bug. Like Darius's ult would do less damage if you were smited, or Vayne W, true damage. It's pretty simple. Which it shouldn't have been, because it's true damage. True damage should go through any damage reduction. Like, it doesn't work for Alistar's ult or Garen's W. So that's just a bug fix. And then I think it'll still be strong. I think smite top laners will still be possible, or I guess viable is the way to put it in competitive meta. Especially Shyvana, like Sion, Hecarim, I think those will still happen, depending on what the team needs in the team comps. This will not remove it from play. It'll still be a strong item. Dragon does more attacks and more damage, because it was pretty much too easy to take half the time, which is nice. Yeah, like they said, they make it a little more difficult, and then somehow they make it so he's not scared, and then they buff it up a little bit. It's not too crazy. Just early game, it's not as easy to take it, so you can't just go like solo it as everyone. Certain people still can. Howling Abyss changes for all you ARAM players, me myself included. So now when you shoot it and it hits someone, it only does a small portion, a fourth of the damage, and then you have to jump to them to actually do the rest of the damage, which is fair, because before you kind of just poked with it. Like, you could just poke with the snowballs in a weird way. Like, it's a 20-second cooldown. It wasn't like the greatest poke ever, but basically people just do it for the damage and then never dash in on it. It was really sad to see half the time, because half the fun of ARAM, you just like to have fun in ARAM. That's what it should be about, in my opinion. And so you should just like throw these snowballs out, and if it hits anything, just go. Just try that. Just try a game. You get some of your friends, and if you hit a snowball, no matter what it hits, if they're under tower, if they're in their fucking nexus, just dive in on it. It's so much fun. And you'll have the best laughs of your life, I promise, if you don't take it too seriously. Just have fun with it, guys. So just some stuff with match history, just buffing it up basically. You can see more matches. Ranked are visible to anyone. Normal matches is visible to you and your friends. In profile view, just some cool stuff. Nothing too crazy. Just check it out. Some bug fixes. Nothing too crazy there. And then we're going to get all the Samsung white skins, which all look fantastic. All are $750 except Twitch and Thresh. $975 for new backs. And some particles. Also badass card skins, 4 of them, along with Twisted Fate. They're all in the splash art together. My favorites personally are the Shaco one is badass, because Shaco kind of needed a new skin. And the Mordekaiser one is so cool, in my opinion. I love Mordekaiser. He's not very strong, but he's fun to play every once in a while, and the skin is the best of his by far, in my opinion. And Star Guardian Lux for all you anime fans out there. All new particles, $13.50, probably $9.75 on release. Super kawaii. Super kawaii. And for everyone out there doing finals, I know it's hard sometimes, but just study up for finals. Get it done. League will wait. What my suggestion is study for a little bit, take a break, play a game of League, one game, I know it's hard, and then go back to studying. We're almost done. I'm along with you guys, and have a great rest of the semester, and everyone else have fun on this patch. I'll see you guys next time.